So before World War II and the Great Depression, my dad was a boy about 7 or 8 years old, living in Pennsylvania with his parents and the rest of the 9 children. They had 10 children total, but as I recall, maybe it was one of my mother's siblings that passed away. I can't remember. But anyway, there was 10 children in the family. And during the Great Depression, things were extremely bad for the modern world. But my dad and my mother, being Amish as they were, did not live in the modern world. They grew crops, they had livestock, farm animals, chickens, cattle, horses. Like I said, crops and everything. So they didn't feel the sting of the Great Depression near as much as everybody else did. So you people who have your 9 to 5 jobs, who are completely dependent upon your occupation for your meal ticket, I've been warning you about your lifestyle for quite a while. Not having a backup plan. What happens when the stores don't have any food? I'm going to go ahead and we'll look at this one first. Huge fire breaks out at Russia's largest gas field as pipe bursts threatening supplies to Europe. Okay. Coincidence? Well, then by itself, probably not. But before all that happened, take a look at this in United States of America. It's on Tuesday, June 14th. This article was posted on Zero Hedge. Another food processing plant went up in flames. According to a local news Stevens Point Journal, a fire ripped through a pizza making plant in Wisconsin on Monday. Pizza making plant? Big deal. More than 70 firefighters from multiple fire departments battled a massive fire at Festive Foods in eastern Portage County that began around 0900 local time. American Red Cross arrived at the scene shortly after to provide food and water to firefighters. They snapped 2 pictures of the blaze showing flames erupting from the facility's roof and a column of thick dark smoke pouring into the air. And all that. But while the fire seems insignificant, it's part of a much larger issue of a spate of accidental fires, one by one, taking out America's food supply chain over the past year. Source of the list via the Gateway Pundit. And here's your list. And I'm not going to go through that list because it takes too long. In the past year, take a look. Alright? Look how long this list. Chickens destroyed, turkeys destroyed, eggs destroyed, onion packing plant destroyed, more chickens, more turkeys destroyed. What's going on here? Look how long this line is here. Ducks but you don't have time. I remember a relative of mine, my dad used to want to bring up Bible subjects to him and want to show him some things in the Bible. I don't really have time to study. Don't have time to pay attention to what's going on around the world when things clearly are not right. Now, previous videos, Jew world order set to overthrow the new world order, the old new world order. Okay. Because the old world order and the new world order is the same world order. Now I want to go and show you this particular article. This is in Vladimir Putin's own words. He's got one foot in the grave, so he wants a legacy. And he wanted to get it done quickly, but now he's staring at his own mortality. So let's hear what he has to say. So he says, previous world order won't return. Putin. And as I've pointed out, the old world order and the new world order is the same thing. The change now happening are fundamental and irreversible, the Russian leader says. Those who believe that things will go back to the way they were before the outbreak of the conflict in Ukraine are wrong. Russian President Vladimir Putin said, it is a mistake to suggest that the times of turbulent, dangerous changes can be waited out and that things will return to normal, that everything will be as it was. It won't. Putin insisted during his speech at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on Friday, the changes that the world is going through at the moment are fundamental, radical, and irreversible. I happen to agree with his assessment. I do not agree with his philosophy. However, the ruling elites of some Western countries refuse to notice this obvious shift and choose to cling to the shadows of the past, he added. That is partially correct, but I would say that the people are guilty of this, thinking that the current way of life is going to remain. Therefore, they continue their 9-to-5 jobs, believing that the grocery stores will stay open forever, believing that they will not have to have a backup plan at home. For example, they believe that the dominance in the West in global politics and economy is a constant eternal value, Putin said, but nothing is eternal, he reminded everyone. Since claiming victory in the Cold War in the early 1990s, the U.S. has declared itself the messenger of God on earth. So did Vladimir Putin, by the way. Pot calling the kettle black here. But only interests, though, and those interests are pronounced to be sacred, the president said. However, the idea of a unipolar world is flawed at its core. And that, folks, is absolutely correct. I will stop right there. We're going to read this little sentence right here, this little portion of the sentence one more time. The idea of a unipolar world is flawed at its core. Let's go to Daniel 2. And I have gone to this particular one often. The scripture plainly shows that a unipolar world is impossible. As I have said it over and over again, I have repeated the scripture over and over and over again, but finally somebody realizes it. Now, I have said many, many times, when somebody starts realizing that the unipolar world is impossible, expect the kingdom in Jerusalem to come. Let me show you this. So we read about this great image. See, this great image is the world order. All right? Daniel 2 and verse 31, you, O king, saw and beheld a great image. This great image, its brightness was excellent, stood before you. The form thereof was fearful. The image, his head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. And you saw till a stone was cut without hands, which smote the image upon its feet, that were of iron and clay, and broke them to pieces. Broke the stone and the clay to pieces. Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and not we will tell you, I will tell you the interpretation thereof before the king. You, O king, are a king of kings, for the El, or the Elah of Shemayim, heavens, has given you a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wherever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven have he given into your hand, and that you may rule over all of them. You are this head of gold, and after you shall arise another kingdom inferior to you, another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over the earth. So the kingdom of silver was the Medo-Persian Empire. The kingdom of brass, the third one, was the Greco-Macedonian Empire, aka Alexander the Great. And Alexander lived a very short life, and his kingdom was divided into four of his generals. One of them was Seleucid Empire, which, still being Greek, desecrated the temple in Jerusalem, Antiochus IV. Now, the one that comes after the third kingdom, the Grecian Empire, was Rome. The fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, and it breaks, and it shatters, and it shatters, because iron shatters. I want y'all to think about this for a minute, because we are living in the age of the iron mixed with miry clay. And it was written, it still has the strength of iron. I'll show you. So it's just, kingdom of iron shatters everything. Kind of reminds you, now of course, the old Rome did not have nuclear power, but when they went into Carthage, they destroyed everything. And it shall shatter and crush. Whereas you saw the feet and the toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided. Indeed it is. Indeed it is. Rome is divided. And when I say Rome is divided, remember, the Russians believe they are the real Rome. Europe believe they are the real Rome. I'll show you. Third Rome. Third Rome refers to the doctrine that Russia, or specifically Moscow, succeeded Rome and Byzantium Rome as the ultimate center of true Christianity and of the Roman Empire. So Rome is divided. And Yehoshua said, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Well, you have proof that Rome is divided. Now let's continue to read. This is very important to read it all. This kingdom shall be divided, but in it shall be the strength of iron, even greater strength than old Rome had. For as much as you saw the iron mixed with clay, potsherd clay, the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay. So the kingdom shall also be partly strong. Let me make sure it says, oh, not partly. Hold on. Wait a minute. Shall be, because of that, by reason of that. It doesn't say partly strong, does it? It says shall be strong, and by reason of being part of iron and part of clay, shall also be broken. Now, to break will break. Now it says brittle, to be fragile. Fragile. What do you mean by fragile? Is it the supply chain fragile? Because everything is so centralized? Could be. Is it because these governments are democracies or republics or something like that? Possibly. To break. Or maybe because they are part of iron and part clay, they are going to break. It's going to break. It's going to break. And whereas you saw the iron mixed with miry clay, to come to pass the seed of men. So what it's saying is the seed of men will become like iron mixed with miry clay. So when King James Version inserted this in there, it was correct. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men. Then it says, but they shall not cling to one another, as iron is not mixed with clay. And if they do not cling to each other, they are divided against each other, aren't they? Here we got another classic example. The house divided against itself cannot stand, right here. And in the days of these kings, or in the end of the days of these kings, and here's proof, in the end of the days of these kings, shall the Elah of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, like the Gentiles. But it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms. So this kingdom that is coming is going to break in pieces, is going to shatter them. It's going to shatter the one who shattered. And it shall stand forever, for as much as you saw the stone was cut out of a mountain without the hands, and it broke in pieces the iron, the brass, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great Elah has made it known to the king what shall come to pass in the after part. The dream is certain and the interpretation is trustworthy. So, you now have Vladimir Putin saying, because he's got one foot in the grave, he's got no choice but to say it now. He's got no choice but to, how do I say this? When you have one foot in the grave, you have to face reality. Some people never do. But, you know, I experienced this in my own family with my wife. You have to accept the truth no matter how brutal the truth seems to be. It's over, he's saying. Vladimir Putin is telling you it's over. All right? It's over. The party is over. Sodom and Gomorrah, the Eastern Church and the Western Church, are finished. Rome is done for. And if you do not have yourself prepared, let me see if I can hand this thought over to you in a little different way here. If you are not ready with your physical things, it also means you are not ready with the spiritual things. Because if you were ready with the spiritual things, you would have done what was necessary with your physical things to prepare yourself. All right? Now, I saw on Facebook, I live in a rural area. It might be a little bit more difficult where you are, but I saw on Facebook somebody is selling wheat for $10 a bushel. If everybody knew what was about to happen, they would not be selling wheat for $10 a bushel. So, if you're not going to listen to me when I tell you that it's over, will you at least listen to Vladimir Putin? Because he's telling you that it's over. It's over, folks.